There's a quiet truth that runs through every life, often unnoticed until we pause long enough to see it clearly. People may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you lived. This idea stands as a reminder that no matter how much we accomplish, collect, or create, it is who we are in the moments between. How we treat others, how we face hardship, how we love, how we rise again, that leaves the most lasting impression. We live in a world obsessed with achievement. Everywhere we look, we see numbers, titles, awards, and possessions that seem to define success. The world applauds the loud, the visible, the measurable. But beneath all of that noise, there is a deeper melody playing, a quieter song about character, about the life we lead when no one is watching. That is the music people truly remember. When you are gone, the world will not remember how many cars you drove, how large your house was, or how many followers you had. They will remember the laughter you shared, the comfort you gave, the example you set. The small, consistent acts of goodness are what echo across time. The warmth in your smile, the strength in your silence, the way you showed up for others when they needed you most. History has shown us that memory is fragile. People forget names. They forget awards. Even great deeds are often washed away by time. But they never forget the feeling someone left behind. Think about it. When you reflect on your own life, do you recall every word people said to you? Or do you remember how they made you feel? You remember the kindness, the respect, the encouragement, or the lack of it. That's the language of the soul, and it transcends memory itself. Living a life that people remember is not about being perfect. It's about being real. When you live with authenticity, people can feel it. You become a mirror through which they see what's possible for themselves. You show them that courage, kindness, and consistency matter more than titles and trophies. The question is not, what will people say about me when I'm gone? The real question is, what do people feel when I'm here? Because legacy is not something that begins after you die. It's something you're building right now, in every interaction, every choice, every moment. Imagine a candle lighting another candle. It loses nothing by sharing its flame, yet suddenly there is twice as much light. That's what your life can do. You can choose to live in a way that lights others up. Not by preaching, not by pretending, but by being who you truly are, fully and without apology. Every day, you leave a footprint. It might not be seen, but it's felt. You leave emotional imprints in every conversation, in every act of kindness, in every time you choose understanding over judgment, patience over anger, gratitude over entitlement. That's how people remember how you lived. We often think legacy belongs to the famous, to those who build empires or lead nations. But the truth is, legacy belongs to everyone. It belongs to the mother who raised her children with love. It belongs to the teacher who believed in a student when no one else did. It belongs to the friend who stayed when life got hard. The world may not record their names in history books, but their influence is written in hearts. And hearts remember what history forgets. When we focus too much on doing, we lose sight of being. We chase the next milestone, the next achievement, the next recognition, thinking it will bring fulfillment. But it's never enough, because fulfillment doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. It comes from knowing that who you are becoming is someone you can be proud of. Think about those who have shaped your life. Chances are, you don't remember every favor they did for you, every word they said, or every lesson they taught. but you remember how they lived. You remember how they made you feel safe, valued, inspired. Their integrity, their presence, their courage to live truthfully. That's what you remember. And now, the question turns to you: how will you live? Will you live chasing approval, or will you live aligned with your values? Will you live collecting achievements, or will you live creating meaning? Will you live for yourself, or will you live in a way that uplifts others? The world doesn't need more impressive people. It needs more genuine ones. People who walk their talk. People who show compassion when it's inconvenient. People who stand for what's right when it's unpopular. People who smile at strangers, help without expecting praise, and forgive even when it hurts. That's how you become unforgettable. Not because people will remember your actions, but because they will never forget your essence. We often underestimate the quiet impact of our presence. Sometimes a kind word changes a person's entire day. Sometimes your patience gives someone hope. Sometimes your consistency gives someone the courage to keep going. You may never see the ripple, but it exists. The truth is, people will forget your achievements far sooner than you think. The award you worked years for will collect dust. The project you poured your soul into will be replaced by something new. The applause will fade, but the way you lived, your kindness, your humility, your authenticity, those are eternal. Even science has a metaphor for this. Energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes form. The energy you release into the world, the love, the care, the passion, doesn't disappear when you do. It continues to move through people, inspiring others long after you're gone. It's not about trying to be remembered by everyone. It's about meaning something to someone. If your life has touched even one person deeply, you've succeeded. Sometimes we get lost in trying to prove our worth. We hustle to earn validation, to prove we belong, to show that what we do matters. But the people who make the greatest difference are not the ones trying to prove their worth. They're the ones living from it. They already know who they are. They move with quiet confidence, not because they're perfect, but because they're at peace with being human. So, how do you live in a way that people remember? Not what you did, but how you lived. Start with presence. Be where you are. When you talk to someone, really listen. When you work, give your best. When you rest, be still. When you love, love deeply. Don't just go through life checking boxes. Feel it, live it. Then, live with purpose. You don't need to save the world, but you can make your corner of it better. Leave every person, every place, every situation a little better than you found it. That's a life well lived. And above all, live with heart. Let compassion guide you more than convenience. Let gratitude shape your attitude. Let forgiveness set you free. Let humility remind you that you are both small in the universe and infinite in your impact. Because when you live like that, fully, deeply, honestly, you become unforgettable. In the end, people won't remember your RA, your income, or your possessions. They'll remember your smile when they needed hope. They'll remember your words when they were lost. They'll remember your calm in chaos. They'll remember how you lived. And that's the legacy worth leaving. A life that wasn't about applause, but about authenticity. A life that wasn't about perfection, but about presence. A life that wasn't about doing more, but about being more. More kind, more true, more alive. Every day, you have the choice to live that kind of life. To be the kind of person whose story outlives the memory of their actions. The kind of person who makes others say, I don't remember everything they did, but I'll never forget how they lived. Because the world doesn't need another name in lights. It needs more lights in the dark. So live boldly, love fully, give freely, be true, not for recognition, not for applause, but because that's who you are. And one day, when time has faded the details of your life, your spirit will still echo in laughter, in love, in the quiet gratitude of those you touched. That's how people will remember you. Not for what you did, but for how you lived. The true measure of a life is not in achievements or possessions, but in the impact we leave on the hearts and souls of others. You see, achievements are temporary. They shine brightly for a moment, then fade into the background of history. The trophies gather dust, the certificates yellow with time, and the applause that once roared eventually falls silent. Possessions, too, no matter how valuable, are fleeting. The car that once turned heads will rust. The house that once symbolized success will one day belong to someone else. The bank balance, no matter how large, cannot buy meaning. But impact lives on. Impact is eternal. It weaves itself into the fabric of other people's lives in ways we cannot always see or measure. It's the smile you gave to a stranger who was silently fighting their own battle. It's the words of encouragement you offered when someone had lost hope. It's the way you carried yourself with dignity, kindness, and strength, even when life tested you beyond reason. People may never remember your titles, but they will remember how your presence made them feel safe, valued, and understood. That is the essence of a meaningful life. Every one of us is writing an invisible story with our actions, and that story is not written in ink. It's written in the emotions we leave behind in others. Every time you choose kindness over criticism, you're writing a chapter of love. Every time you lift someone when they've fallen, you're writing a chapter of courage. Every time you forgive when you could have resented, you're writing a chapter of grace. That's the kind of success no money can buy and no time can erase, because the impact of a life well lived doesn't shout, it whispers. It's not always seen in grand gestures, but felt in quiet moments. Like a teacher who stays after class to make sure a struggling student understands. Like a friend who answers the phone at midnight just to listen. Like a parent who sacrifices their own comfort so their child can have a better chance. These are not achievements in the worldly sense, but they are the foundations of legacy. They are the moments that echo in the hearts of others long after you're gone. We live in a world that tells us to chase success. But what if success isn't something we chase? What if it's something we become? By the way we live, love, and give. What if the truest form of success is not what we accumulate, but what we awaken in others? Think about it this way. When people gather to speak about your life one day, they won't list your possessions. They won't recite your RA Summe. They'll talk about how you made them feel. They'll remember your laughter, your courage, your compassion. They'll recall the little moments, the ones you may have thought didn't matter, that shaped who they became. A truly rich life is one where the heart overflows more than the wallet, where giving is more satisfying than gaining, and where love outweighs every material accomplishment. If you live with purpose and empathy, if you treat every person as if their heart matters, if you choose to bring light into dark places, then your life becomes a living legacy. You become someone who doesn't just exist, you matter. Because the truth is, people forget facts. They forget figures, but they never forget feeling. The feeling of being loved, respected, inspired, seen. The feeling of knowing that someone believed in them when they didn't believe in themselves. That is how lives are changed. That is how souls are touched. And that is how your story will live on. Not through monuments, not through money, but through memories that refuse to fade. So don't chase achievements. Chase alignment. Don't measure success by what you have, but by what you've given. Don't seek to impress the world. Seek to impact it. Because when the noise fades and the spotlight dims, the only thing that will remain is the mark you left on the hearts of others. And that mark, that invisible, indelible mark, is the true measure of a life well lived. People may forget the details of your actions, but they never forget the energy, kindness, and authenticity that defined your presence. Think about that for a moment. Every person you meet, every soul you cross paths with, experiences your energy long before they understand your story. They might not remember what you wore, what you said, or even what you did, but they will always remember how your presence felt. Energy is invisible, yet unforgettable. It's the quiet force that speaks louder than words. When you walk into a room filled with tension and bring calm, people feel it. When you enter a space and radiate kindness, it changes the atmosphere. When you choose to be genuine in a world full of masks, people notice, even if they can't explain why. Kindness, authenticity, and genuine warmth. These are the signatures of a soul that truly lives. They don't fade with time, and they can't be faked. You can imitate someone's style or their success, but you can't imitate their spirit. And that spirit, that invisible yet powerful essence, is what people carry with them long after you're gone. Think about the people who've touched your life. Chances are, you don't remember every specific thing they did for you. But you remember the way they made you feel understood when you felt unseen. You remember the comfort in their voice, the reassurance in their eyes, the patience in their silence. That's what lives in your memory. Not the details, but the feeling. Your kindness has the power to echo in hearts, far beyond your awareness. A simple word of encouragement, a smile to a stranger, an act of patience when it wasn't deserved. These things seem small, but to someone else, they could mean the world. You never know who's watching you quietly, drawing courage from the way you live, learning from the grace with which you carry your struggles. That's the beauty of authenticity. It creates ripples that travel beyond sight. In a world that rewards performance, authenticity stands out. People crave realness. They crave the company of those who don't pretend, who aren't trying to be perfect, who are brave enough to be human. When you show up as yourself, flawed, honest, and genuine, you give others permission to do the same. You remind them that it's okay not to have everything figured out, that it's okay to be real. Your authenticity is your legacy. You may think your achievements are what define you, but it's your energy that people feel. You may think your words will be remembered, but it's your kindness that will echo. You may think your actions are what people will talk about, but it's your spirit that will live on in their memories. You could do 1,000 good deeds and still be forgotten if they come from a place of ego. But one small act of kindness, done from the heart, can outlast your lifetime, because people can sense the difference. They can feel when love is genuine, when help is sincere, when care is real. When you live with authentic kindness, you create invisible connections. You plant seeds in people's hearts. And though you may never see them bloom, they do. often in moments when others need hope the most. Energy is powerful because it cannot be destroyed. It only transforms. The love you give, the patience you show, the positivity you spread, all of it continues moving, living, and growing through others. That's why even when people forget your name, they remember your essence. Years may pass, memories may fade, but someone somewhere will think of you and smile without even knowing why. They'll remember the light you brought into their life, the peace your presence gave them, the strength you helped them find. That's the true art of living, not to be remembered for what you did, but for how you made others feel. So, ask yourself, what energy do I leave behind when I walk away from a room? When people speak of me, what feeling will linger in their hearts? Will it be warmth, comfort, inspiration? Or will it be indifference? Because at the end of it all, our energy is our signature. Our kindness is our legacy. Our authenticity is our truth. Live in such a way that even if people forget your words, they'll never forget your presence. Live in such a way that even if your name fades, your energy remains. A quiet, enduring reminder of what it means to live with love, with purpose, and with genuine humanity. Living with integrity, compassion, and purpose ensures that your legacy lives beyond memory. It becomes a part of others' stories. Integrity is the foundation of a life that endures. It's not about doing what's right when everyone is watching. It's about doing what's right when no one is. It's the quiet voice inside you that says, be honest, even when dishonesty would make things easier. It's the courage to walk your truth, even when the path is lonely. When you live with integrity, people learn to trust your presence. They may not always agree with you, but they know you are real. They know that your words carry weight because your actions match them. Integrity builds invisible bridges, bridges of respect, of reliability, of influence that lasts long after your physical presence is gone. Compassion, on the other hand, is the heartbeat of humanity. To live with compassion is to see beyond yourself, to understand that every person you meet is fighting battles you cannot see. Compassion doesn't always need grand gestures. It lives in the small things. In listening without judgment. In forgiving without keeping score. In offering kindness when the world seems too busy to care. When you live with compassion, your legacy becomes a healing force. People remember how you made them feel accepted, seen, and valued. You become the reason someone believes in goodness again. You become the reminder that gentleness is not weakness. It's strength in its purest form. And then there is purpose, the fuel that gives life meaning. Purpose is not found in possessions, titles, or applause. It's found in contribution, in knowing that your existence makes a difference. Purpose is what drives you to wake up each day and say, I will leave this world a little better than I found it. When you live with purpose, your life becomes a message. Every decision, every act, every challenge you face becomes part of a greater story. You no longer drift aimlessly through your days. You move with intention. You understand that your time here is not an accident. It's an opportunity. And when integrity, compassion, and purpose intertwine, they create something extraordinary. A life that transcends memory. You no longer exist just in photographs or fading recollections. You live on in the stories people tell, in the lessons they pass down, in the values they teach their children. Someone might say, I remember how honest she was, even when honesty was hard. Or, I'll never forget the way he made everyone feel like they mattered. Or maybe, because of them, I learned what it means to never give up. That is the power of a life lived with integrity, compassion, and purpose. You become more than a memory. You become a movement, a quiet, invisible thread woven into the tapestry of other lives. You see, material things decay, but moral strength endures. Achievements fade, but kindness ripples forever. The people you've touched with your goodness will carry a part of you within them. And in their actions, your legacy continues. When you live with integrity, people remember your truth. When you live with compassion, they remember your heart. When you live with purpose, they remember your vision. And together, those three become the pillars of a legacy that time cannot erase. Every great life leaves echoes, echoes of courage, love, and faith that inspire generations to come. You may never know the full extent of your influence, but someone, somewhere, will tell a story that began with you. Maybe it's a lesson you taught them. Maybe it's a kindness you showed. Maybe it's simply the way you carried yourself, with dignity, with sincerity, with grace. That's how you become part of others' stories, not through fame or fortune, but through the quiet consistency of a good life. Because when people speak of you, they might not recall every detail of what you did, but they will feel your presence in the values they now live by. In their strength, they'll remember your courage. In their generosity, they'll remember your compassion. In their honesty, they'll remember your integrity. You will live on in their actions, their attitudes, their hearts. That is the kind of immortality worth striving for. Not to be remembered for what you achieved, but to be continued through how you inspired others to live. So live with integrity. Let truth guide your steps, even when it's hard. Live with compassion. Let your heart stay soft in a world that tries to harden it. Live with purpose. Let your days be driven by meaning, not mere motion. Because when you live that way, your legacy is not written in stone. It's written in the lives you've touched. It's told in stories you'll never hear, in moments you'll never witness, in hearts you'll never meet. And that is the most beautiful way to live forever.